Hi, this is Stacia, and I wanted to share another endgame puzzle, and it's white to move. And if you'd like, go ahead and pause your video, and then I'll share the solution. Okay, so perhaps the first question in a puzzle like this is, are we playing to win or are we playing to draw? White does have an extra pawn, as you see, so maybe one idea is that since we have an extra pawn, white is actually winning here. But that would be false, and that's due to the king position. Notice the black king is up the board already. He's already 2 squares in front of his pawn, while the white king is far behind. And this means that black is actually the one with winning chances here. So we're playing for the draw as white. But how to hold this? The big threat in the position is king g4. So the king, it wants to come in, eat our pawns, and win that way. So due to that, when we look at our candidate options, basically we have these 3 king moves, and we have pawn pushes. So let's look quickly at these. All right, king g2 looks most natural, bring the king up. But then king g4, and there's no way to save our pawn. This is going to be lost. Just for example, let's say we just come this way. Black will take. What can we really do? He's going to come this way now, and he's 2 squares in front of this pawn. So since black is occupying one of the key squares, this is just lost. If we come up this way, king g4, same kind of scenario, and king here, same kind of scenario again. King g4 just wins. So with that in mind, none of our king moves are working. So we need to look at our pawn moves. Now the move f5 just undefends the g-pawn. Black would just simply take it, so that's not a good option. But what about g6? g6 is interesting because although black can take it, it will kind of worsen his position. If he takes with the pawn, he's no longer 2 squares in front of the pawn, and if he takes with the king, same thing, and his king's in a worse position and actually allows us to come up and defend our pawn. So g6 poses problems in terms of recapture, and in addition, we're threatening g7, so black must respond to this threat. So king takes is one option, but yeah, now king g2 is actually okay. There is no king g4, and we're threatening to defend our pawn. So maybe black comes here. We can just go king f3. We're defending our pawn. And we have the opposition, so black should probably go f6 to gain the opposition, but this is just a drawn position. Yeah, you get something like this. And black has the opposition, but now what? Well, we can just play king g2. We're offering our pawn, but if black takes, now this should be a familiar pattern. The king is 1 square in front of the pawn, which means whoever has the opposition gets the result they want. So since is that right? Yeah. So since our king just moved to f2, it's black's to move, and you're going to get this kind of thing. Yeah, black can never get through. It's a draw. Okay. So after g6, king takes is a draw. So let's look at f takes g6. Well, in this position, again, we have several candidate moves. So the king can come here, here, or here. And we also have a pawn push. So king to the h2 square is met by king h4, and black is going to have the opposition, so that's not a good move. Same with king g2. If king g2, black has the opposition, and this is losing. Black's going to gobble the pawn and win. They're already in 2 squares in front of their pawn. And again, king g1 doesn't do much because king g4 is once again a threat. So it's in this position that we play the move f5, and this is very interesting. So f5 is, well, it's a pawn sacrifice, but what happens if black takes this pawn? If they take it, notice that the king and the pawn are on the same rank now. The king really needs to be in front of the pawn, so this is not ideal. And if black does not take this pawn, then we are threatening to run the pawn and get a draw that way. This king will need to chase it down, and we should be okay. And actually, let's look at that. Maybe it's not entirely clear. I don't think black wants to push the pawn, but let's say they just come here. Well, this would be a draw because we're threatening to take. Sorry, I didn't see that for some reason. Yeah, so we're threatening to take the pawn and get a draw that way. So therefore, black, to retain any advantage at all, has to take. And now we have, again, 3 candidate moves. And which would you choose as white? This is actually fascinating because if you play the natural-looking king g2, this actually loses. Again, king g4. Black has the opposition, and this is just going to lose in this fashion. Yeah, f3. Where can we really go? We can't keep the opposition. When black pushes, we're forced out of the way, and now they queen. So, okay. King g1 is the only move that doesn't seem to lose immediately. So, what is the story with king g1? Well, this move actually draws, and it's really fascinating why. It's all about the opposition. So, if the king moves up like he wants to king g4, this is the threat in every line. Well, now we just go king g2, and suddenly white has the opposition. So this is what is called a flanking move. This king g1 move, because we want to go to g2, but we're going to go here first and just kind of pass the tempo to black. And the point of this is that even if black tries to keep the opposition, like let's say king g5, right? Keep the opposition. We can now go king f1, and black cannot go to the opposing square. So black loses the opposition here. He has to do something like king f4, maybe king g4 is a better try. But now king g2, and we have the opposition, and this is going to be a draw. So pretty interesting puzzle. I hope that you learned something. I haven't studied endgame in a while, so this is definitely really good stuff for me. So again, let's look at the line from the beginning. So all the king moves lose. So g6, interesting idea. So we're distracting black, threatening g7. He takes. And now f5. So double pawn sacrifice with the idea that this is really the only way to secure the draw. So g takes f5, and now we fight for the opposition. King g1, the king tries to take opposition. We have king f1, and now black is in a tough spot. We win the opposition, he comes here, and this position is drawn. So, okay, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you would. and have a great day.